I honestly don't know where to begin. My wife and I went to the movies to see No Time to Die, the new James Bond film, and the last to feature Daniel Craig in the role. And I hate it. I hate it with a passion. I honestly don't remember the last time I was this furious after watching a movie. I wonder if the people responsible for this travesty fully realize what they have done. I'd wager they do. I'd wager they're pretty pleased with their results, but I can never really know. What I do know is that this film and the people who made it crossed a line they shouldn't have crossed. They played with fire, and we got burned. This isn't anything new. Over the past several years, we have seen multiple beloved franchises decimated by inept people with no love or respect for the art they've inherited, electing to prioritize their political, cultural, and social agendas instead of the actual fans of the works themselves. And now, I regret to inform that James Bond is their latest victim. In this video, I'll attempt to illustrate what James Bond is, what he means to his fans, what these criminals have done to him, and why we as fans should demand compensation. And I only speak for myself, but I'm sure others will agree, that until the day this compensation comes, if ever, No Time to Die shall be remembered as the biggest stain this franchise has ever seen, one that it may never truly recover from. Obviously, I'm gonna go into mega spoilers with this video, but I honestly don't believe this film deserves your money. Do with that as you will. Also, this is gonna be much more of a rant about something very specific that happens in the film, rather than an actual film review, so keep that in mind. Before I begin, please leave a like and a comment, subscribe to my channel, and share this video. I really appreciate it. So, let's not beat around the bush. James Bond is dead. They killed him. James Bond dies in No Time to Die, which is ironic. Now, the thing is that the film itself was actually pretty decent, I'm not gonna lie. It's not spectacular or anything, but I expected it to be way worse than it was, and surprisingly I found myself invested throughout. I even enjoyed myself on several occasions. But then the ending happened, which made everything the film did well prior seem moot in comparison. I honestly felt swindled. It felt like a ruse. It's okay to have James Bond face adversity. He faces that often.
Do you expect me to talk?
No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
It's okay if he's beaten sometimes. He can even make mistakes. But you don't kill him. You just don't. Having James Bond die in his own film is the same as losing a game because your opponent cheated. This isn't how the activity was meant to conclude. As a matter of fact, it's the antithesis of what James Bond represents, which I'll get to later. Now, I know it may seem ridiculous to be this upset over a fictional character dying in his own movie, but please stick with me for the duration of this video and allow me to explain why I believe that this isn't just a random dude who doesn't exist kicking the bucket. This is something more. First, a history lesson.
I admire your luck, Mr.
Bond. James Bond.
James Bond is a cinematic institution. One of the longest-running movie franchises of all time, spanning nearly 60 years and 25 feature films that range from pretty bad at their worst to some of the greatest action films of all time at their best. Regardless, all of them are financially successful, and almost all of them are beloved. But why? Why do people like these films so much? Well, it could be for several reasons. It could be for the fantastic action sequences, or for the interesting and exotic locales we get to visit. Maybe for the unique and fun gadgets. Or perhaps it's the menacing villains. Or the beautiful women. Maybe it's the incredible stunt work. It's probably all of the above, but none of them are the main reason. No, that reason is, of course, the character of James Bond himself, portrayed throughout the years by 6 excellent actors, their performances ranging from the campy to the serious, from the charming to the cold-blooded, from the young stud to the old veteran. Now, while some aspects of their performances are different from one another, other aspects remain constant throughout, namely James Bond's purpose and what he represents. So what is it exactly? How should we judge James Bond, the character? Well, if you're not a fan of James Bond and you don't like his movies, then you probably judge him based on his lows rather than his highs. Maybe you see the old Sean Connery films and the way he treats women, and you consider him a sexist and a misogynist. Maybe you see him violently kill people in his movies, and you see that as a form of toxic masculinity. Or maybe it's something else entirely. Maybe you just don't like the films because you consider them too repetitive or too formulaic. Maybe your grievances with the character are with how he never changes, and you think his films should be deeper, more complex, and that they should be truer to real life. Maybe. You're fully entitled to have these opinions, and there's nothing inherently wrong with them. But if you do hold one of them, there is one thing you need to understand, which is that the people who love James Bond and his films don't see it the same way as you do. More specifically, they don't love the movies for the same reasons that you hate them. To the fans, James Bond is an example of the classic masculine hero that every man wants to be and every woman wants to be with. You know the phrase.
Oh, James.
He's charming, suave, and charismatic, but he's also strong, determined, and competent. He's a perfect mixture of a gentleman and a soldier, and no matter how many men he kills or how many women he sleeps with, he almost always does it for Queen and country first and foremost. In most instances, he doesn't really care about sleeping with the women, and he doesn't gain anything from it personally. But he does it to gain information that is imperative to his mission, and that's not a bad thing. And yeah, sometimes he does it for himself just for fun. But you know what? That's okay too, because, and that's the big point I'm trying to get to, James Bond is a character whose sole purposes are for escapism. James Bond isn't meant to be deep. James Bond isn't meant to be sophisticated or to say something about the real world. It's a fantasy. It's supposed to be a fantasy. It's supposed to be a male fantasy. The male fantasy of traveling to beautiful locations, killing bad guys, making love to gorgeous women, and most importantly, winning the fight, beating the villain, saving the world, and living to fight another day. Are you starting to see the problem with killing this guy? The whole point of James Bond is to save the world and get the girl. That's it. Almost every single James Bond film ends this way. And while some would call it formulaic, I would say, sure. But that's the essence of Bond, and that's the reason people love him. If you want a film that deals with real-world issues, or a film with a sad ending, or a film that'll make you think or cry, there are plenty of great films out there for you, some of which I myself really adore. But James Bond just isn't it, man. These films are supposed to be harmless fun and mindless escapism.
See you back at the lodge.
The Daniel Craig films messed with the formula more than previous iterations. Sometimes the ending would be bittersweet. Sometimes Bond wouldn't get the girl. But at least James Bond, the character, ended his adventure on a triumphant note, with the strength to go on the next one. This left the viewers thrilled and excited to join him. Yes, that was fun. Can't wait for the follow-up. The next adventure awaits. I know it sounds like simplistic thinking, but again, that's the point. We know that the world is complicated and that life is hard and we don't always get our happy ending in reality. That's what movies are for. At least some of them. That's the primary reason why I fell in love with films in the first place. Because of the stories, because of the awesome characters, because of the adventures, because of the magic, because of the fun. But this is 2021, which means we don't get to have fun anymore. We're doomed to watch our favorite childhood characters get killed off. And for what? Think about it for a second. What could possibly be a justifiable reason to kill James Bond? Is it because he's a classic masculine hero and the world just doesn't need him anymore? Is it an attack on fun and on the fans of the franchise? Or is it a more innocent, yet equally incompetent attempt to subvert expectations and to shatter norms just for the hell of it? Well, as I said at the beginning, I can never really know. But if you ask me, I think enough is enough. So what's next? We all know there'll be another James Bond film someday. We all know they'll cast a new actor for the role. But would that be enough? Not for me. I don't want just another James Bond. I want the James Bond. I want the classic James Bond and the classic Bond film. I want the fun, escapist male fantasy Bond, where we go in, shut off our brains for 2 hours, go on an adventure, have fun, and move on with our lives. That's what I want, and let me know if that's what you want too. I believe that's what the fans want. It's what the fans deserve, and it's what we should demand. Is it what we're gonna get? Probably not. But that doesn't mean we need to just sit there and take it. If you see that the new Bond will just build upon the subversions that the Craig era and No Time to Die especially have started, then just don't watch it. Don't give them your money. They don't deserve it, and you won't like what you get anyway, so why pay for it? Well, at least that's the way I see it. Thanks for watching, everybody. I had to vent out my frustrations after watching this film. Seeing James Bond die felt like a slap in the face to me. It felt like a middle finger to the fans. Is it just me? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Also, if you enjoyed the video, share it with your friends and subscribe to my channel. Check out my other content right here. Thanks again, and have a good one.